When we imagine the largest creatures in the ocean, pop culture conditions us to expect a nightmare. We picture massive, razor-toothed apex predators patrolling the deep, ready to hunt and consume anything in their path. This flowchart maps marine size, sequencing 25 sea animals by length, from the Atlantic halibut up to the 30-meter blue whale. Look at the top. We expect a massive apex hunter here, but strict resource constraints make that biologically impossible. What we are actually looking at is a strict biological trade-off: caloric volume versus trophic dominance. You can be the biggest, or you can be the most lethal hunter. You cannot be both. Extreme mass requires massive energy. Building and maintaining a body this size of a submarine functions as a highly specialized, fragile metabolic investment. To reach Tier 1 Leviathan proportions, a species must completely surrender its status as an active hunter. The true apex hunters in our dataset span animals number 8 through 25. This includes predators like the orca, the great white shark, and the blue marlin. This matrix plots how they operate. The vertical axis represents length. The horizontal axis maps caloric acquisition: active hunting left, passive filtering right. Plotting our apex hunters drops them tightly into the bottom left quadrant, relatively short and entirely dependent on active hunting. The required biological input for this group is intense. They rely on the high-speed pursuit and capture of large, evasive, and often intelligent prey. That effort yields a potent outcome. It secures a high-protein, nutrient-dense diet that fuels cognitive development and enables sudden bursts of extreme agility. But there is a heavy metabolic penalty. The kinetic energy required to chase a meal burns far too many calories to support massive body weight. Speed requires a streamlined, lightweight frame. This hydrodynamic requirement acts as a hard biological ceiling, locking these animals into a very specific size bracket. For apex predators, the math is rigid. Extreme speed explicitly precludes extreme mass, capping their maximum growth strictly between 6 and 8 meters. There is one singular anomaly in our dataset that breaks this predator rule: the 16-meter sperm whale. If we look back at our matrix, this single silhouette appears as an extreme outlier. It plots remarkably high on the length axis, yet remains firmly entrenched on the active hunting side of the grid. To create this loophole, the sperm whale uses a highly specific input. It specializes entirely in deep-sea hunting, using highly concentrated biosonar to track giant squid in complete darkness. This grants access to a massive uncontested food source in the abyssal zone. Without competition, it secures enough calories to scale to 16 meters. But the biological cost to access that zone is steep. It must dedicate up to 1/3 of its total body mass to the spermaceti organ, a massive internal structure used purely for buoyancy control and sonar generation. This loophole requires extreme physical specialization that incurs massive surface recovery times, rendering the animal highly vulnerable outside of its specific deepwater hunting zone. The very top tier of our list belongs to animals number 1 through 7. This includes the massive blue whale, the whale shark, and the basking shark. When we update the matrix for these giants, the divergence is stark. They populate entirely in the top right quadrant, boasting immense length, but relying completely on passive filtering. The biological input here is an exercise in subtraction. These giants abandon teeth, speed, and active hunting entirely to filter tiny microprey from the water. This strategy achieves the highest caloric return on investment in the animal kingdom. They eat where planetary biomass is the most plentiful. They spend almost no energy moving, while bringing in millions of calories per mouthful. It is exactly this favorable metabolic math that permits 30-meter growth. Maintaining a body that size comes with a hidden trade-off. It requires absolute, uncompromising reliance on highly stable ecological systems and massive, predictable plankton blooms. These giants have optimized themselves into an evolutionary corner. If ocean temperatures shift and their specific food source fails, they lack the agility to adapt and face immediate starvation. This biological dynamic reveals a much broader takeaway about how resources are managed within an ecosystem. This quadrant chart plots system efficiency against adaptability. The giant filter feeders sit perfectly in the top left quadrant, highly efficient but possessing low adaptability. Active predators drop into the bottom right, sacrificing efficiency to gain high adaptability. The core lesson of the predator is clear. A highly adaptable, agile design is the optimal investment if you are operating in a volatile, rapidly changing environment. The core lesson of the giant provides the counterweight. Extreme system efficiency can only be pursued when you rely on a highly stable, completely predictable resource pipeline. Extreme size in the ocean is simply a biological transaction. It means exchanging predatory agility for unparalleled energy efficiency. Survival for these 25 species depends on how perfectly they match their level of metabolic investment to the volatility of their specific ocean habitat.